Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, what is a little different is that I'm in a different location right now.
He's at what appears to be somebody's grandmother's house.
Hey, don't disrespect the Graduate Hotel. I shouldn't completely die.
No, Coach.
I shouldn't completely
Here's exactly where I am.
Whatever, man. I don't care.
Here's the address.
in Bloomington, Indiana. I don't care, man. Who's gonna the people that are watching this, who cares? But yeah, let us know if everything sounds fine. I'm using this little portable mic too, so if anything is a little wonky, let us know, please. But yeah, buddy, how you doing today? What's going on?
Well, the Yankees just signed Cody Bellinger, so I'm happy about that. I know that you're a little upset because if Miami won, you would have been doing some stuff in Miami and instead doing Bloomington. No disrespect to the fine people of Bloomington, Indiana. But
listen, Mike, I've heard some people refer to Bloomington as the Miami of the Midwest. So
okay, what is it? The mayor's wife said that, or
it's the people, the people around here. Look, the atmosphere is great. Indiana just won a national championship. People are excited.
As Mr. Mule says, let's talk about the other poorly run team in the division. We'll get to them.
We'll talk about the Bills.
But our big Jets thing is going to be number 2 overall pick discussion because national championship really pumped up Rueben Bain's stock. Mm-hmm. I would say probably he's the favorite right now to be number 2. He's certainly Jets Twitter's favorite.
He's up there.
2. There are kind of 3 options: him, Arvell, Reese, and David Bailey. We'll go into a little bit of a mini deep dive into them, but we'll do some stuff from around the league with a little bit of a Jets bend to it. First, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, because that really helps pump us up. You know where to find us: Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast. Wherever you get your podcast, we are there. And really, YouTube is going to be the big place to pump us up and like and subscribe to really help us support the show. That's how you do it. Chew has already donated 5 memberships. That's a hell of a way to do it, too.
I was about to say, speaking of supporting the show, shout out MF Chew. Came in before the show started. Donated 5 memberships. You're the man.
Let's go and honor that by immediately talking about the Tennessee Titans. Because
we'll get to the Bills in a moment for those who want to hear us talk about Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane and all that mess. A lot has happened in the football world, by the way, Mike, since we last did our podcast last week.
Oh, yes. So including the fact that it looked like Matt Nagy was going to be the coach there, but nope. Robert Saleh, former Jets coach, second stint around as the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. He is now the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. If I were Saleh, I would not have taken this job. I think that I would have waited for someone with probably a little more set in stone at quarterback. I think Cam Ward's going to be very good, but I would have wanted to take kind of a slam dunk hire, maybe even Buffalo, because you don't have to worry about the offense there at all. You just got to fix the defense, and then there you go. Instead, now he's got to really nail an OC hire to make sure Cam Ward reaches his full potential. Going to Tennessee, what I think about this, number one, it really pisses me off how the Robert Saleh tenure was discussed in New York because, and this happens a lot where coaches will always say, oh, I wanted to draft all the great players that my team didn't draft. Apparently John Harbaugh wanted to draft Puka Nacua. Oh, of course he did. Isn't that obvious? So that happens a lot. And obviously whenever guys get fired, there's always this agent rehabilitation process that starts. Brian Daboll's getting it now. Kevin Stefanski got it before he got the Falcons job. This stuff always happens. What I don't get is, and we said this before, like when they fired Saleh immediately in the aftermath, he even got the whole, defensive genius, the Jets are just a pox on the land and you can never win with the Jets kind of thing. That's been amped up into overdrive, where kind of like Stefanski, because Stefanski's like, I got screwed with the Watson thing. It's like, well, they probably asked you if you want Deshaun Watson. You said, yeah. Robert Saleh, great defensive coach. Players love him. Very nice man. Not equipped to be a head coach right now, but he's getting painted as this complete patsy where everything the Jets did, he had this master plan that would have worked perfectly, and the Jets told him no 10 times in a row. He wanted to keep Darnold and take Penei Sewell or somebody like that, and then have the defense be just as good. And then on top of that, he didn't want to fire Mike LaFleur, and he wanted this guy, and he didn't want Rodgers. Basically, it's getting to the point where if you believe this, I got a bridge to sell you. Because you have to believe every single decision Robert Saleh would have made would have been not only right, but exceedingly correct. And the Jets told him no like 10 times in a row. That just doesn't happen. I'm sure Robert Saleh didn't get everything he wanted, but you can't paint him like that. I do like, though, that he went to Tennessee in this regard. I think, and he's probably thinking this too, everything he did with the Jets was front page news because you're the coach of the Jets and they were bad and Rodgers, I get all that. He said, I probably don't want to go to a Baltimore or a Buffalo where I'm expected to compete for a Super Bowl immediately, and it's front page news if my team stinks. Tennessee, smaller media market, longer rebuild, Cam Ward, I can go kind of be a little anonymous for a year, figure things out. I think that's what he valued most because I think what really broke him was kind of being the Jets coach in New York. I think he underestimated kind of what that is and what that entails. So I think in that regard, Tennessee makes sense, and I'm happy for him. But, man, to get painted as this guy who the Jets did wrong at every turn, and we like Robert Saleh more than most, that's just so not the case.
It's disingenuous is what it is, Mike. It feels very disingenuous to paint him as the victim of circumstance and not necessarily circumstances that he caused. Because look, a lot of the analysis has been, oh, now he's going to Tennessee where he finally has a quarterback. He finally has this. And it's like, well, he was a part of the decision-making in multiple quarterback decisions for the Jets, right? And I'm aware there's reporting out there that says that Saleh wanted to stick with Sam Darnold and he did not want to necessarily draft Zach Wilson. That was more of a Joe Douglas thing, but
of course he did it.
Right, of course. Now that, he's fired and stuff, it's a lot of the people that are kind of buddies with Saleh, for lack of a better term.
I remember first being clued into that. I remember when Hugh Jackson got fired, he said, I wanted to take Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Well, it's like the new trend. You see the new trend on Twitter.
And McAdoo did that too. He wanted to take Mahomes, I remember.
Yeah. Well, it's the new trend on people on Twitter. People like posting like, oh, I just found my old mock draft from like 2017, and it's like 6 all pros.
On it. Like, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's funny that you're putting this out there now. But yeah, I understand that. But then Saleh was also part of the brain trust that brought in Aaron Rodgers. And I'm aware the Rodgers situation failed for reasons necessarily that might have been outside of the Jets' control, right? Of course, a torn Achilles, but you had a couple swings at the quarterback position, and you had a quarterback who is currently in the NFC Championship game right now on your roster. The Jets swung and missed multiple times at quarterback when Robert Saleh was head coach, and it wasn't necessarily, outside of Saleh's control. So I think it is disingenuous to paint it in that light. As far as like the landing spot in Tennessee, I get why they went in this direction. And you see this a lot with NFL teams that they kind of reverse course based on who their last coach was. The Titans fired Mike Vrabel and then hired the young upstart offensive guy in Brian Callahan. And then Brian Callahan flamed out and they went back to hiring the defensive focused culture guy in Saleh. So I feel like in some ways also it's a little disingenuous that Saleh is being painted as this Vrabel type as well, where it's like, oh yeah, they fired Vrabel and they ended up with Mike Vrabel anyway. It's like, well, what has Saleh done to be put in that category as well? Like you said, Mike, a lot of this is going to come down to who the offensive coordinator is and who they can bring in. It sounds like, if reports are going to be believed, I believe this was Diana Rossini reported this, that if Brian Daboll does not land the Bills head coach job,
which talk about failing upward if that happens.
Yeah, I know. Well, it sounds like he's the favorite for the offensive coordinator job in Tennessee. And
only in the NFL can you flame out that spectacularly and get that much of an a promotion, basically.
I feel like in the NBA you see it sometimes too. Like, not to, the Knicks are a whole different discussion. And you mentioned why I might not be happy right now. The Knicks might be part of that. But like Mike Brown gets fired as head coach of the Sacramento Kings and gets hired as the head coach of New York Knicks. Like, that's also kind of failing upwards. But it doesn't like the offensive coordinator is really going to hire is really going to matter. I think Daboll would be a great hire for him. Like, I think that'd be a fantastic hire for them. I would be surprised, or at least a little like it'd be an eyebrow raiser if Daboll somehow ended up getting the Bills head coach job, which we'll talk about the Bills situation in a moment. But a Daboll Saleh ticket in Tennessee, that's not bad. I think that can work.
It's not bad, and I do think there are a lot of coaches that are going to get second chances to turn it around. I really think that Saleh is a guy who can turn it around. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was saying before I really kind of thought like about the pressure on him, I thought the Baltimore job would have been great for him because you have Lamar Jackson. Yeah. All right, you do whatever you want. Let me fix this defense. Weak division. There you go. It's not a weak division anymore. Jaguars are a team. Texans are a team. It's gonna be a little bit of a grind,
dude. If Saleh does his thing, there's a chance the Colts finish last place in a division. And again, the Jets got their first round pick next year.
By the way, they for sure, the Titans play the Jets next year. They for sure are the week 1 matchup.
Yes. That is in Nashville as well. So it'll be on the road. It won't be Saleh's return to MetLife, but that's the revenge game.
Brian Sternbeck, the favorable reports about Saleh are very carefully worded in ways that may be technically true, but are very misleading. We know why.
Yes.
It's just, I know it's his agent. Robert Saleh is we don't know if he's how much of a better coach he is than Aaron Glenn. He is 10 times better at PR.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Robert Saleh, the first year with the Jets, had literally the exact same season Aaron Glenn just had. People, the defense at the end. They gave up 40 points in a row in 5 straight games, Robert Saleh's first year, including 55 to Mac Jones as a rookie.
Yeah.
Against the Patriots in New England. He won 3. Ron Middleton won 1 game, so he won 3 games.
That's true.
Aaron Glenn won 3 games.
The two biggest differences.
Glenn, everybody wants his head on a pike, and freaking Robert Saleh is.
Yeah.
It's year 1, blah blah blah.
The two biggest differences.
It mystifies me.
Yeah, I mean, the two biggest differences were Saleh had Zach Wilson. That was kind of a little bit of a lightning rod for some of the Heat, where it's like, okay, we have this rookie quarterback who struggled. We still hope he can be good, but at least there's some kind of, we have something we're looking ahead to, as opposed to 2025, where Aaron Glenn had Justin Fields, Brady Cook, and then the other part is the Jets willingly tanked and willingly bottomed out for the final month of the season, which they didn't do under Saleh. They were trying to win all of those games. Not that the Jets weren't trying to win these games, but they certainly weren't trying their hardest. And I think the product on the field being as bad as it was certainly did not help Glenn.
Keidron Smith is not you're trying to win a game.
No.
So let's go to, we got a couple comments I want to get to. J Mark. Aside from McDermott, I don't think there's a good head coach available. Saleh at least has some upside.
I wouldn't say there's not a good head coach available. Like I
guess a former head coach is looking for another.
Yeah, of the retreads, unless you're hiring McDermott, unless obviously Tomlin is not going to be coaching this year. Yeah, probably the best of the retreads, but also you can, I wouldn't mind.
Who would you rather hire, Robert Saleh or Kevin Stefanski?
Stefanski, easy, but Stefanski already got hired. He already got hired by the Falcons. But I'm surprised, honestly, like a Cliff Kingsbury hasn't gotten more consideration for head coach jobs, because I'd almost rather take a swing on Kingsbury and just the upside there. I just, too. Yeah, over a Saleh. But there's other coaches that I think would be better candidates for me, for if you were just starting an NFL franchise from scratch. The Titans, again, I get why they went the Saleh direction, because they don't want another young offensive guy. They're not going to hire a Clint Kubiak, because Titans fans will be like, oh, it's just another Brian Callahan. That's how that goes.
It's not, but
that's how it would be framed.
Jay Long, a new member. Saleh was dog shit in Tennessee. We'll find out. See, he wasn't like dog shit. Brian Callahan was. There's a difference between
Adam Gase was.
It's not that. There's something there. I don't know if it's enough to be a good head coach, but there's something.
Well, because
to act like he had no agency over all of the things that went wrong in a 4-year span. That's where I start getting into pride. And I don't want to just bash Robert Saleh here, because we defended Robert Saleh more than most, but he was culpable for a lot of that.
Yeah, well, the selling point with Saleh is you can hang your hat on something with him. You can hang your hat on you're going to have a really good defense, and not only that, you can develop defensive talent and find diamonds in the rough. That's what Robert Saleh
scout talent too.
Yes, that is what Robert Saleh did best with the Jets. It's the other stuff that he needs to work on, and obviously, second stint as a head coach, maybe you get better. Just like players develop, coaches develop too. I think look at someone like Todd Bowles. I think Bowles is largely the same coach he was with the Jets, but there are things that he's done differently.
He just has Tom Brady instead of, Baker Mayfield instead of Josh McCown.
I think he's improved to some degree, but overall he's largely the same coach he was with the Jets. But you're hoping for
Brian Callahan as their OC. They're kind of in a Jets spot where I don't think anybody wants to take the coordinator job because the seat is so hot over there.
For the OC job in Tennessee or in Tampa?
In Tampa, yeah.
Well, it's funny though, because all of the last few offensive, they've become an offensive coordinator factory, as far as landing head coach jobs, from Dave Canales to Liam Cohen. You would think it would be more in demand, especially because if Bowles' seat is that hot, maybe whoever they bring in, say, not that they can do this, but say they were to bring in a Mike McDaniel, who sounds like he's going to the Chargers. What's to say that McDaniel wouldn't just be the head coach next year, right? They wouldn't keep him around and fire Bowles. I don't know.
Keep it simple, RC. The defense was nowhere to be found, because they fired him. That's why it was nowhere to be found in Saleh's last year.
Yeah, Saleh's last year lasted 5 games.
He was nowhere to be found for most of the year because he got fired.
This defense wasn't necessarily the problem the first 5 games of the season. Yes, the 2022 and 2023, which were the two big, like 2021.
You would have made the playoffs if you didn't have Zach Wilson.
2021 can almost be written off as like the year zero, kind of like this year for Glenn, where it wasn't really Saleh's defense yet. He hadn't brought in his guys. His starting corners were Bryce Hall and Brandon Echols. Like the roster wasn't good.
Was Wes Austin still there, or no? Was he gone?
I think he was there to start the year, or at least in the summer, and then because didn't he get traded to the Seahawks, or he got released?
He was an Adam Gase special. That guy.
Yeah. But I believe that was the year they started Bryce Hall, Brandon Echols, and a rookie Michael Carter. And a rookie Brandon Echols at corners. So it was rookie Echols and rookie Carter, both of whom were 5th and 6th round picks, and those were 2 or 3 starting corners for the year.
Let's go and talk about. It's rare for us to be able to look down at AFC East, especially ones this good.
Yeah.
Right after they won a playoff game and almost got to the AFC Championship, but the Buffalo Bills, as Mike Greenberg said, not to quote Mike Greenberg a lot, he said they are doing the impossible. They're making a team with Josh Allen as the quarterback, an undesirable head coaching spot. That was a weird, bizarre press conference.
Yes, that's a nice way to put it.
And Brandon Beane, who got promoted somehow. Now, look, you're no fan of Keon Coleman as a player. You made that. Dude,
hey, can I say hand up? Not to like celebrate the downfall of any player, because I want everyone to succeed, but I'll take my victory lap on that one. I was very adamant, like, look, man.
At least he's better than Javon Baker, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but listen, the guy who runs a 4.57, who couldn't separate in college and was bad in contest and catch situations, being a bust in the NFL, also never had like 800 yards in a season in college. What a shock that he did not work out in the NFL.
I will say, it seems like a lot of the problems here are like attitude in tandem with on the field, but I think the attitude is really what's tipping the scale.
You still get the drop issues, though. Like, that never went away.
So, but again, all right, the second round pick, or first pick of the second round, but still a second round pick, didn't work out. The team is still good, okay. For some reason, both the GM and the owner are making it like Keon Coleman is the source of all their problems.
I know.
Which is funny because Brandon Beane's talking, and then Terry Pegula interrupts him.
It was embarrassing.
Says, actually, our GM didn't make the first pick of our draft, which is weird. The coaching staff made that pick, which is funny then because you immediately can go, it's on the internet. That's one good thing about media nowadays is everything is, for better or worse, documented. There's videos of him going, man, I love Keon Coleman. I hope he's there. We're going to take him. And then in that of all the things to lie about, why lie about that? It's so easy to disprove.
Well, it's funny because it wasn't Beane who lied about it. It was Pegula who stepped in. I think later in the press conference, maybe in that same question, like right after that, Beane took ownership for it. But it doesn't matter, bro. Like
the owner already said, yeah.
Right. This is one of those situations, like you mentioned in the beginning, where, you know, it's like we're talking about the Jets. One of the rare situations where we're looking at Woody Johnson and saying, wow, you weren't the most embarrassing owner in the AFC East today. You know, maybe he still is as a general rule, but today he was not. You're right. Yeah, there's still time.
Why are the Patriots as good? I'll tell you why. Because the other owners in the division are Terry Pegula, Stephen Ross, and Woody Johnson.
Yes.
And Robert Kraft, I think, is too senile to like meddle directly in a lot of things.
We see now
like Vrabel and Drake May do whatever they want.
Yeah, we see now why the Bills don't let Terry Pegula speak in front of a live microphone. And this is funny because I have a lot of friends who are Sabres fans and Bills fans. I went to school in upstate New York, so I know a lot of people from that area, and they all hate Pegula, right? I like, admittedly, like I know about Terry Pegula, but he so rarely talks to the media. Like it's been almost, like 8 years since the last time he actually spoke to reporters about the Bills, that you don't really understand how bad of an owner he is until you hear him talk. And today was a masterclass in how to just put your foot in your mouth, throw your players under the bus, like, dude, and the constant bitching and complaining about what was objectively a correct officiating decision in that game. It's not even that.
Like, look, this is gonna sound like, oh, it's Jets fans complaining about the Bills after the Bills are good and the Jets are terrible again. Genuinely, I've been watching football. Not to use that excuse. I've been watching for years because I hate when people do that. But like, this has been our job for a bunch of years.
Yeah,
I have never seen a player lose at the level, not like he loses a lot, but I mean like lose failing to get to a certain round, like the level of the playoff structure, and get this outpouring of sympathy.
He's the golden boy.
But like Mahomes, who though the Mahomes glaze people compare about, like he's got quadruple the accomplishments. He doesn't get this. Imagine if Lamar Jackson lost that game.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, the NFL has.
Not only is it, it's not Josh Allen's fault, but they're still going with Josh Allen's the best player in the world. The official NFL account, you got to feel bad for Josh Allen. Have they tweeted that out for anybody else?
They wouldn't tweet that about Lamar.
They wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
There are 3 golden boys in the NFL, and it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow.
No, it's Josh Allen twice.
I think the other 2 are also kind of propped up in that same pedestal. And honestly, my take would be Joe Burrow does not deserve to be in that conversation. But
yeah, when he last made the playoffs, like 3 years ago?
Yeah, but he's still a golden boy. And honestly, Drake May might reach that, especially if Drake May reaches the Super Bowl this year, he's getting in that territory. Like if and by all accounts, they should beat Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos. So I think we're talking about Drake May in that conversation as well. The others just don't get talked about that way. Like the amount of insane shit that, and listen, I'm not here to say that Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson, or well, I wouldn't say Lamar, but Dak Prescott or even Justin Herbert, right, who gets an insane amount of shit. I'm not saying those guys are on Josh Allen's level because Dak and Herbert are not.
Lamar is,
but the amount of shit that they get, like you would think that they play a completely different sport. It's kind of wild how they're treated. But yeah, just overall, what an embarrassing press conference from Terry Pegula. Like one of the most embarrassing ones that I've seen, and we've watched many Woody Johnson press conferences. It felt like,
remember the Justin Fields?
I was about to say, Mike, it felt like the Justin Fields thing from earlier this year, where he just completely threw a player under the bus who was on your roster still. Keon Coleman was starting in the last game the Bills played. Yeah, they had a ton of injuries at wide receiver, but he started that game. Like he was one of their top 3 wide receivers in that game.
Still, he's the number 2 wide receiver. Why is it his fault?
Right.
Of all the players to blame, why him? You know?
And again, like you mentioned, Pegula just consistently stepping over Bain, because I feel like a lot of Bills fans went into that, because we didn't talk about the McDermott firing or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Bills fans went into that, I think, wanting to hate watch for Brandon Bain, and they were quickly reminded, oh wow, our owner's worse. Like this is awful. This is humiliating, because there were multiple times where Bain was asked a question and Pegula just stepped in and spoke over him, like the Coleman situation. Bain, I'm sure, for as many issues as he's had as general manager of the Bills, and we can probably point to him for a lot of the issues with the roster, more so than Sean McDermott, as has been the argument for a lot of Bills fans. He's at least professional, and he knows how to talk in these press conferences. Pegula, man, just says whatever's on his mind. He says whatever, and to the detriment of his team.
I think they're very defensive, I think is the right word. I think what they thought would happen is, we don't know if this move is going to be right or not, but Ravens fans generally were like, it's time with John Harbaugh. Like, it's time for a job. Steelers fans were like, it's time.
Steelers fans have been saying this, the same with Ravens fans. They've been saying it's time for years, those two fans.
Yes. I think he thought he would get that reaction, and then he kind of didn't, honestly. No. There was a lot more pushback on this one.
The thing is, Mike, he would have gotten that reaction if they also fired Bain. That's the problem. I think
then
there's
clearing house, and then
you can make the argument that, you know what, maybe it was time to make a change with McDermott, because after 6 years in a row that they're a genuinely great team and just flame out in the playoffs and can't even make it.
And this is the year with no Mahomes and no Lamar,
right?
So easiest quarterback path theoretically,
right? At a certain point, even if it's not McDermott's fault, you could argue it's time to get a different voice in the locker room and change something, right? Shake it up in some regard. You can make that argument, but if you're firing McDermott, you have to clean house. Not only did they not clean house, Mike, they promoted Brandon Bain. They gave Bain even more power to now lead the head coach search. And based on my understanding of the wording of how this promotion is going, it's going to be head coach promoting reporting to GM, GM reporting to owner. So Bain now has authority over the head coach, which I don't believe was the power structure when McDermott was there. So man, it's just.
Did they come together or after? I think Bain came after, right?
27. I think they might have come together. It was 2017 was McDermott's first year there. Who was the GM before Bain?
They came together. Okay.
Who was the GM before Bain? I'm blanking.
Oh, damn it.
I know who it is, but I'm forgetting who it was.
When they had Rex, because they fired Rex to get him. Doug Whaley.
Wow.
Doug Whaley. Ooh.
That has been years since I've heard that name.
Yeah.
Bain's just been there forever. But yeah, it's just that's the part that Bills fans are mad about. And totally valid. Look at the wide receiver room, dude. Like they were trotting out Mecole Hardman and Gabe Davis and Brandon Cooks. Those guys weren't on the roster 3 months ago. Tyrell Shavers, like there's just the wide receiver room was a disgrace. They invested all this money in the defensive line.
Is the Jets receiver room like as good as the Bills right now?
You say is what?
Is the Jets receiver room?
It's like better. It's better because Garrett Wilson's better. Khalil Shakir is the only starting caliber wide receiver that the Bills have. That's it. And yeah, the Jets only
better than Keon Coleman and
Adonai Mitchell. Yeah. Adonai Mitchell is better than every wide receiver in that Bills wide receiver room outside of Khalil Shakir. It's terrible, dude. They poured all this money into defensive line. Like they spent 2 top, 75 picks in the defensive line. They paid money for Joey Bosa, who's trash.
Walker was good, but other than that,
yeah. They paid a lot of money for Larry Ogunjobi, who got suspended and wasn't good. Like it's a mess. It's a mess. And then they wasted draft picks on Kyer Elam and Keon Coleman. Like the roster,
but they have Josh Allen. So
doesn't matter. Allen has bailed them out. But the Bills roster, especially this year, was a shell of what it used to be. And it sounds like when Sean McDermott said that and mentioned that to Pegula and Bain in their post-season meeting, that did not go over very well.
J Mark, you have to blame someone in Buffalo. Probably blame the GM, then McDermott. This roster is not bad, but that's not a Super Bowl roster. Also, Jay Long, you boys are cracking me up. Glad to have found your channel. Well, we're glad to have you here, Jay Long.
Welcome aboard, man.
Welcome aboard. Let's get into some more Jets-centric talk right here.
Yes.
Because that's as much laughing at our AFC East rivals as we're going to have for a long time, because it's probably going to be another long year. Now, the good news is the Jets have 4 top 50 picks, including the number 2 overall pick. Fernando Mendoza's going 1. That is all but confirmed.
Yeah, it's not written in stone yet, but I would say it's written in ink. And
it's written in Sharpie almost.
Yeah.
So that leaves the Jets with probably the best pure player in the draft they can take. Now, I've seen some unorthodox thing. Maybe take a wide receiver at 2. No, don't do that. There are 3 basic players that are going to go at minimum in the top 10, probably in the top 5 for 2 of them, and maybe number 2. There are 3 of them. They're all pass rushers. Rueben Bain from Miami, Arvell Reese from Ohio State, and David Bailey from Texas Tech.
Mike,
MTO, you guys have played Dark Souls. I play Dark Souls all the time.
I was about to say, Mike, this is such a you
Ruben
comment.
Bain is a strength build. David Bailey's a dex build. Arvell Reese is a magic build. Caleb Downs all around. Ty Simpson deprived. I'll tell you what that means.
Yeah, please explain. This is a you comment. I have not played Dark Souls. I know Dark Souls. Here we
go. All right, this is the only time I'm ever going to be able to do this on the show. So
please, Phil, explain this to me in layman's terms, in football terms.
Strength build are usually use 2-handed weapons, like big great swords that hit people really hard.
Okay.
Dex build means dexterity, so that's like 1 sword or quicker stuff, so you can just slash a bunch repeatedly. Magic build is magic because it's unique. You find spells, and you get a limited number of casts before you have to refuel them.
Okay.
That's Arvell Reese. Caleb Down all around is you kind of use a mixture of both, which are not good in Souls games. It makes them a lot harder. And deprived means intentionally you're starting the game with a lot less stats as like a challenge to like see if you can make it harder on yourself and still win.
It sounds like a good analogy to me.
That's a great analogy.
That's valid. That sounds great.
I've been waiting for that forever. I had to go do that. So let's go talk about Reese, Bain, and Bailey.
Yes.
Before we really dive into stuff right now, it seems like if you had your pick, it's going to be one of these 3. If you had to pick tomorrow's the draft. You're the GM of the Jets.
Man.
Who's the pick? Because I think I know who mine is.
I'm going to give my answer, but I'm also going to give a cop-out answer. But I'll
give
my answer first and then the cop-out. So I'll say Arvell Reese, okay?
Okay.
That's my answer. The cop-out answer is I want to see who they hire as their defensive coordinator first. That's my cop-out answer. Because if they hire Wink Martindale, I would think Reese makes more sense than Bain. That would be my take right there. If they hire whoever, right? Say they hire Chris Harris, man. Then I don't know. But I think depending on who they hire, maybe Bain makes sense. I'm between Bain or Reese. I'll start with Bailey because that's the one where I'm not considering him at number 2 right now. I get the argument for Bailey. Bailey is the best pure pass rusher in this class. He's got a better pass rush arsenal than Bain, and he's clearly a more defined pass rusher than Arvell Reese, where you're kind of throwing your hands up and saying, well, how can we get him? How can we maximize his ability? With Bailey, it's very simple. And obviously, a lot of Jets fans will say, Will McDonald this. Bailey's better than Will McDonald. Bailey's a better pass rusher than Will McDonald, was a better pass rusher in college. Now, he wasn't playing, 3-tech like Iowa State had McDonald playing 1-tech sometimes.
How did they ever stop the run playing Will McDonald?
I have no idea, man, because the Jets can't stop the run with McDonald playing edge.
How'd you not run for 300 yards every game against that defense?
Right. So Bailey's a better pure pass rusher than McDonald, which is saying a lot because McDonald's a very good pass rusher. He's also better against the run, which that's not saying a lot because McDonald is, once again, as we've said for the last couple of years, quite possibly the worst full-time run defending edge rusher in the NFL. He just can't do it. But that being said, I don't think Bailey is a good enough run defender for me to consider him at number 2. If I'm drafting a guy at number 2, I want them to be an every down, like playing 75% of snaps at a minimum, and I'm happy with them playing that many snaps kind of guy. David Bailey, I think, would be a liability on rundowns, on running downs. I don't think he would be, at least to start his career, I don't think he'd be a Will McDonald caliber liability. And I think that the juice you'd get from him as a pass rusher would be, awesome. But I don't want to take a guy at number 2 that I have concerns about half of his game, right? That would be my take on Bailey. I think he's probably a top 10 pick in this draft. Could even go top 5. I think if you're picking at number 2, that's a little rich for my blood. If you trade down, then maybe you consider it. The Arvell Reese.
Go focus on Bailey first.
Sure.
Comments. Keep it simple says, gotta go Bain. He showed out on the national stage. That was a big game for him.
And you know what? That is also keeping it simple. Bain would be the simple pick. If you draft
Bain, if you're living up to your
pick.
name there, keep it simple. Yes. And Mike Zimmelman, how's it going? I'm fine with any of the 3, but I do like the Bain pick considering Jason Taylor connection. And Tyler Barron is on the roster. I was less likely to take Rueben Bain.
Well, I was about to say there was the Jason Taylor connection with Tyler Barron as well.
And Mawagoa.
That one didn't work out.
And Mawagoa. So Miami defenders, I don't know about.
Brian, I said juice. Yes, I said juice.
You did. Yes.
UIC.
The microphone quality is not.
Yeah, sorry. The mic is.
That's what he said. So Bailey, I recently did a mock draft, like the first 3 rounds. Actually, up on our Giants site, G-Man HQ. But I had Bailey going 8 to the Saints there. I feel like that's more his range. Like, this is not an insult to him as a player. I just don't consider him in the Bain-Reese tier right now, because I think that's really the only 2 guys in that tier, or those 2 right now. I think Bailey might make sense for Tennessee at number 4 if both Bain and Reese are gone, especially with Robert Saleh coming in. I could see how he would really like a player like David Bailey in his defense.
Saleh's going to fall in love with David Bailey.
Yeah,
you're so right. Absolutely.
I had them taking Carnell Tate at 4 there, but I don't know. Now
that Saleh's there, I almost feel like they're going defense. Like if Saleh's going to have that,
I had them getting R. Mason Thomas in the 2nd round, so that could be.
That's also very solid.
That's
or
also
Cassius Howell as well.
Yep, and then I had Jordan Tyson 5 to the Giants, Spencer Fowler to the Browns at 6, Caleb Downs at 7 to Washington, and then the Saints get Bailey at 8. Super fast, crazy good, just pure sack production. I believe he led the country in sacks. I like the fact that he was the best player on the best defense in the country in terms of points allowed. I think that so defense is new going in. If we stop David Bailey, and they have other players like Jacob Rodriguez and Lee Hunter, but David Bailey, I think, was the straw that stirred the drink there. And they still couldn't stop him. I think he's more developed as a pass rusher than Reese is. I think Reese gets more pressure, but I think in terms of hand usage, moves, I think Bailey's ahead there. Like, if you were asking me who's going to get the most sacks year 1, David Bailey.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think if you look at these 3, it's almost like there's high floor, low ceiling. I think that might be Bain.
Yes.
Low floor, high ceiling, Reese, and then the in the middle pick is Bailey. Now, it'll be I guess that can make him more appealing because in a lot of ways he's safer. Because I think if you ended their careers, like fast forward to the end, I would predict David Bailey has more sacks than Rueben Bain, even if Rueben Bain's a better player.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, the question then becomes, can he defend the run at an NFL level? Yeah, he's better than Will McDonald, but Will McDonald is the worst player in the league 2 years in a row defending the run. So if he's below average there, maybe the sacks make up for it. Almost kind of like what the Jets thought they were getting with Hassan Reddick, where he's not going to be a great run defender, but kind of does enough to get in the way, and then at his peak, he's getting 11, 12 sacks every year.
Mm-hmm.
That might happen. I just don't know. I just don't think at 2. Now, if he blows us away at the combine, I'll reconsider. Like, if he has, like, crazy speed times and he's bigger, like if he weighs in the 250s, then I think you consider it. But I don't know. As MTO says right here, I don't think Bailey gets past Arizona at 3.
Ooh.
I think he would, because I think Arizona right now is going to take whichever of Bain or Reese the Jets don't take. So.
What I'm really curious about is Reese's stock, like Arvell Reese's stock, because I think there's going to be some teams that have him listed as an edge rusher, that have him listed as, ranked as a top 3 player in his class. And I think there's going to be other teams that have him listed as an off-ball linebacker and have him ranked as a top 15 player in his class. I think there is a world where Reese falls further than we think. If the Jets pass on Reese at 2, I think he probably still goes top 10, but I think there's I think there's more of a world that Reese falls outside the top 10 than Bain or even Bailey. I think both of them might be closer to locks for the top 10 than Reese. That's not to say that Reese is an awesome prospect. And again, I think he very well could still go 2. And I still lean him at 2 right now. I just think different teams are going to evaluate him very differently. We talked about the pass rush production kind of falling off later in the season, but pressure rate, Arvell Reese had the highest pressure rate among all 3 of these players. Reese's was at 22.3%, Bailey 21.3. So both of those, elite numbers for edge rushers. Rueben Bain 17.2%, which was kind of a little bit closer to like Akeem Mesidor territory, Zion Young territory. Still really good. Sack rate for these guys, Arvell Reese was at 6.6%. So again, just absurd pass rush production for Reese. A lot of that came earlier in the year against lesser competition, so that's something to keep in mind. But still, when he was lining up at edge rusher, what was that?
For Bailey or Reese?
For Reese. Yeah, I want to pull up his actual numbers in a second.
Now, to be fair with Reese, Matt Patricia kind of changed his role a lot, where he had him being off ball a lot more later in the year. And that's not because he was struggling at edge. He was dominating at edge. I think just Matt Patricia just said, all right, let me have this awesome. You can't get a better inside linebacker deal with an Arvell Reese than Sonny Styles.
So over the first 8 games of the season, Arvell Reese had 3 or more pressures 5 times. Over the final 6 games of the season, he didn't have 3 or more pressures in a single game. And he didn't have a sack. So that is interesting. I want to see how many pass rush snaps. The pass rush snaps didn't decrease that much. The production earlier in the year was insane, dude. Like he didn't have a single game where he played more than 13 pass rush snaps. And he had, again, 5 games with at least 3 pressures, 2 games with at least 4 pressures, and 8 sacks, despite not having a single game where he had 13 or more pass rush snaps.
So that's the question is, all right, he's not producing at historically good all-time outlier level, and then he regressed to just very good. So that's how you can frame it, I think.
Yeah, it's really
not going to get a pressure 30% of the time, like 40% of the time he rushes. That would be,
It's so hard to project what his role with the Jets would be without knowing who their defensive staff is. But my hunch is that he would be used maybe more as an off-ball linebacker on early downs and then kind of put an edge rusher on passing downs, at least to start his career. That would be my guess right now. Again, maybe they go out and sign Alex Anzalone and you don't need to do that. Or maybe you sign Anzalone and maybe Reese is your third linebacker as well. And then he could also be one of your starting edge rushers. It depends on a lot of what they're going to do. He's just such an awesome player that maybe it's a little bit of a Rueben Bain too, where I'm like, I know he's going to be great no matter where he's playing. I don't know where that's going to be. If he's an off-ball linebacker, awesome. It's just if you're taking a guy at number 2 and he ends up being an off-ball linebacker for his whole career, and that's like his biggest role, then I don't know, position value and stuff.
Well, if he's the best or one of the best,
maybe. Would you
especially
take
with how this team needed off-ball linebackers as badly as they did last year?
Would you take what draft was Roquan Smith in? Was that 2018?
Yeah, he went, I think, 8th that year.
He did. I'm trying to see. I want to do a little exercise here. What year was that? It was
2019, I think.
No, it was 2018. So 2018, Roquan went 8th overall. Would you take Roquan? So Bradley, this is interesting. Bradley Chubb went 5. I would take Roquan over Chubb, I think.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. Chubb was a Pro Bowler, but also the injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's say, that's a bad example. But like say Chubb stayed healthy or something, or is there another edge rusher in this class?
My point's being made for me here. Okay.
Well, it's a bad example because this is a rare year. There's no great edge rushers in this class. What's the year? Bobby Wagner wasn't a first-round pick, but like, say 2012, who was the edge rushers in that class?
You're going back a while.
Another year where there were actually no edge rushers that were good. That's kind of crazy. Melvin Ingram, Chandler Jones.
Reese at 2 to the Jets. So going by Kuiper's record on Jets picks, that means Reese definitely will not be picked by the Jets.
Well, that's good because Kuiper also said that the Jets would pick Simpson at 16, and I'm not.
I've come off that in recent weeks.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of been on that train for a while of not wanting to take Simpson at 16 or not wanting Simpson in the first round. If Simpson is there at 30, 33, I consider it. I think you could take a guy in the second round and as you've said in the past, Mike, and you sent this to me on Slack as well, start the guy. Like if you're drafting Simpson or Nussmeier or whoever in round 2, give them a good chance in year 1.
Give him the whole year. And then if he's bad, you take a first-round guy next year and you reboot. And if he's good, then he's good.
Right. And you can do that. You could afford to do that more with a guy that you pick at 33 or 44 than a guy you pick at 16. Like that's kind of been my take about that from the start. It's just I really don't want to use a first-round pick on a quarterback in this class. Jets took Quentin Coples over Melvin Ingram and Chandler Jones. Yeah, that was rough. That was tough.
So the thing with Reese, though, is there's three ways that he could be used. Full-time edge, I would say probably half edge inside linebacker, and primarily edge with a sprinkle. I don't think moving him to full-time inside linebacker is going to be what they consider.
No, if you're drafting a guy that high, that's not your plan.
Yeah. So now not the problem, but something I noticed is I remember we were saying a lot of these things about Jalen Walker last year. The Falcons took, and then they just made him an edge full-time. So that's what the Jets could do, is just make him an edge full-time. Well, if you make him an edge full-time, he's only like 245. Like, he's not that big for an edge. He's crazy fast and crazy violent, but he's not that big for an edge. So that already takes some of the uniqueness out of his game, because the whole point is he can kind of flex around a little bit. Then you do both, but then you're basically making him half a pass rusher and half a linebacker. People always bring up the Micah Parsons comparisons. Again, they made Micah an edge full-time. Yep. He doesn't do a lot. Like, he can cover, but he doesn't really do a lot of it. He's just going and rushing the passer. He's also a one-of-one freaky strong guy for his size. I don't know if Arvell Reese is that yet. Or you could do this smattering of both, where it's almost like, why even do the smattering of both? Just commit one way or the other. Yeah. So there's more ways the Arvell Reese pick could go poorly than either of the two, just because nobody knows how to use them. And if the Jets had a guy from, I don't know, like Mike McDonald's tree, or DeMeco Ryan's tree even, or Vance Joseph's, like one of these defensive whiz kids that quote-unquote knows how to use them, then I think you run it up for Arvell Reese, because they might hire Wink Martindale or a new guy like, an Ephraim Bonda or DeMarcus Covington. Well, he had 1 year, but a relative new guy. He's only 36. There's a lot more risk involved with Reese, but his ceiling is so crazy high. He could be an all-pro every year if he hits. So if the Jets draft for upside, then they're going to take Arvell Reese, because he's got the most upside.
I was just doing a little bit of statistical comparison here. I was checking Jalen Walker's last year at Georgia. So Walker's last year at Georgia, he had 195 pass rush snaps and 178 coverage snaps. So he was actually used more as a pass rusher than he was in coverage. So I think that made it easier to project him to the NFL as more of a full-time edge rusher, which is kind of what he did with Atlanta. Just for reference, what he did with Atlanta this year: 282 pass rush snaps, 50 coverage snaps. By the way, you mentioned Micah Parsons. Parsons this year, 7 coverage snaps. So he's an edge rusher. He does not drop back into coverage.
Even in Dallas early on, they made him an edge rusher. They tried a little bit, but then they quickly gave up, because he was Micah at least was so good at one thing. They're like, will it be stupid to not have him rush the passer?
Yep.
As much as he did. So I don't know if that was because of that, or they just gave up on the plan entirely. And Reese may dictate, like, look, I'm this crazy good pass rusher. I'm staying at edge full time. Yeah. But I don't know. There's a lot more I don't know with him.
There is. So again, Walker, 195 pass rush snaps, 178 coverage snaps last year at Georgia. Arvell Reese this year, only 121 pass rush snaps, so significantly fewer, and then 249 coverage snaps, so a good amount more. Now, his pass rush production was better. He had a higher pressure rate, higher sack rate.
The coverage is pretty good.
It is. Higher pressure rate, higher sack rate than Walker as well. So it's a smaller sample size, but he was a better pass rusher than Walker was, even though Walker was used more as a pass rusher at Georgia. And like you mentioned, the coverage, I think, was also better than Walker's was at Georgia. Walker was not great in coverage at Georgia, which I think made it easier, again, to project him more as a full-time edge rusher. It's such a weird conversation with Reese, where I think he's a really good – I also think he's a good run defender as a linebacker too. Like, his run fill is good.
He'll do something well in the NFL. There's no way he can't.
It's not going to be – and I mentioned this to you the other day, Isaiah Simmons, right? Simmons a little bit different, because Simmons was more safety linebacker hybrid, but again, still like the hybrid linebacker. It's not going to be Simmons, where he's this crazy athlete that you're trying to turn into a good football player. I think Arvell Reese could be a very good linebacker in the NFL. If you just stuck him at off-ball linebacker, as like a weak side linebacker, I think he could do that really, really well at the NFL level. The thing is, if you're drafting him that high, you want him to be more than that. I think he can. Again, I'm looking at kind of projecting here with the pressure numbers and the sack numbers and saying, okay, I think I'm willing to bet on, because early in the year, it wasn't just against like Grambling State that he did this stuff, right? He had 5 pressures and a sack.
Texas, I remember he dominated Texas.
Yes, 5 pressures and a sack.
That was like kind of when he put the nation on notice, like, of what he was.
5 pressures and a sack against Texas. He had 3 pressures against Wisconsin and a sack, 3 pressures and a sack against Penn State. Both of those are not bad defenses. 2 pressures against Washington, but a 79 PFF pass rush grade. Like, he was producing against some better competition. It's just later in the year that pass rush production kind of fell off. And some of it was they were using him more in coverage, especially those last few games. He was being used a lot more as like a traditional linebacker, but I don't know. It's how much stock are you willing to put into the early portion of the season, really the first half of the season, when he was one of the most productive and efficient pass rushers in college football, despite being an off-ball linebacker and, kind of a hybrid off-ball linebacker, and how much you're saying, okay, well, he kind of tailed off as the year went on. Maybe let's just take a safer guy like Rueben Bain.
How many hybrid off-ball linebackers are there even in the NFL right now?
Well, I mean, Jalen Walker, you could still put him in that category. Kyle Van Noy, I don't know. Kyle Van Noy. Or
not a lot of them.
Andrew Van Ginkel, kind of using that in that same role.
Durante Jones comes here. That could be.
Ooh, that's a very good point.
Andrew Van Ginkel, yeah.
That's a very good point. Yeah, if they bring it, because obviously Durante Jones coached Van Ginkel in Minnesota. Yeah, man, it's a really interesting evaluation that I think NFL teams are going to be very all over the board with. I think Rueben Bain, if we want to talk about him for a moment, is a much easier evaluation.
Really quick before Bain, a couple comments. Chew, exactly. Reese is the same size as Will McDonald, being praised for his athleticism, just like Will McDonald. And the Jets line McDonald in line where he was non-existent like he was the last year in college. Reese did not have his hand in the dirt very often.
Well, I was going to say this too. I think you're going to see a big defensive shift with the Jets if they were to draft Reese. Yeah. A lot more stand-up. What do you want to call it, a 3-4 or 4-3? Because I think the Jets were a 4-3 last year, but they honestly ran a lot of looks when they were like, Jermaine Johnson was standing up or Will McDonald.
I think 3-3-5 was their biggest.
Yeah, like it's a lot less. It's more fluid than it's ever been in the NFL. Like, it used to be like, oh, you're either a 4-3 or a 3-4. Now you kind of do both. As the rapture is coming to get me here, as the sun is coming through the blind. I can close that in a second. But yeah, I think if they were to draft Reese, you're going to see a lot more looks where Reese is standing up. I don't think Reese is going to have his hand in the dirt that often in the NFL. At least he should not be. I don't think that's going to be the best use of him. Honestly, the same would be for David Bailey too. I think you could use Bailey as both a hand in the dirt guy and as a stand-up edge rusher. And I'd like to see the Jets do that more with Will McDonald this year. It almost felt like they did that more with Jermaine Johnson than Will McDonald, which felt a little
odd. He's not
odd.
The guy you do that for.
No, it felt a little odd to me that they did that.
MTO.
Keep talking.
Yeah, as Justin tries to go and prevent the higher beings of power here from
preventing the rapture.
MTO, gotta see who the DC is. Connor Hughes is still adamant Wink is in the lead. Same with
I almost feel like there's
Wink would be a Reese guy, I think.
It feels like there's almost too much smoke around Wink at this point. And maybe it's just because Connor's the one that's leading the trial. Not to question the validity of any of those reports, because he knows a lot more than we do, but it feels very pointed that it's like all Wink. Like, we haven't heard any other candidate that's like even a legitimate, serious consideration right now.
We interviewed Chris Harris.
Chris Harris is the only guy that we know they've interviewed twice. That's the only one that's been reported that they've interviewed twice. And if Chris Harris is the higher man,
no leaks or anything.
Nothing. We got Durante Jones and Matthew Arroyo, which was broken by a Dolphins reporter before the Jets released the name.
And that was like 2 hours before they released everybody.
Right.
For a week, all we have is Durante Jones, and they might get to Wink, but everything officially was Jones.
So all we can go off of right now is Connor, and I believe Zach Rosemont has also said it, that Wink appears to be like kind of the leader in the clubhouse right now, the favorite. But it almost feels like there's too much smoke. Like, maybe the Jets, maybe somebody else blows them away in an interview. Maybe Ephraim Banda or Durante Jones blows them away, and they're like, let's go with a younger guy.
MTO, they just want a squeaky mouth in the organization. Yeah, they want a source because Connor knows Wink will talk and tell him stuff.
Maybe if we start hearing about some dysfunction, if they hire Wink and we start hearing about some like dysfunction with the defensive coaching staff, or maybe like a power struggle between Wink and Glenn, we'll probably know where the source of that is coming from.
Let's go talk about Bain, because if you're on the Bain train, that national championship game was everything you could have wanted to see from him. This was against
so if it's
Carter Smith.
Hold on, really quick. If it's the Bain train, what is it for Reese? Is there like a the Bain train?
What word rhymes with Reese? I don't know.
Grease?
Oh, for Christ's sake.
We'll workshop it.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, I thought
Bain is so obvious.
I was testing your creative juices, Brian.
If you find one that rhymes with Bailey, then
Haley?
Oh, for Christ's sake. All right, Rueben Bain. So, went against Carter Smith, who will be drafted. crushed him, I would say. Him and Akeem Mesidor, but Bain especially. This is I really don't want to not take a guy at 2 because of arm length, but literally, I don't think there's ever been a guy picked in the first round that has made a Pro Bowl with arms that ever.
Hutchinson is close, depending on what Bain measures in. Hutchinson is close.
Hutchinson's close, but this is literally, I don't want to say it's like Kyler Murray level, as a quarterback, but it is a historic outlier. If he was that as good as people think he's going to be with the arms, as short as they are, which is sad because I don't want to not draft him off that. He's still very much in it too. But you got to consider that even when you weigh it against everything else that he has as a player, which is exemplary. Find me a guy who plays harder in this draft. There's nobody there. And a guy that talented playing that hard.
Yeah.
You don't always see that. Great hand usage, violent, plays the run. He's big. I can imagine it maybe on passing downs, they kick him inside. Like you take Harrison Phillips off, he's your other DT. Then maybe you get Jermaine Johnson, Will, and Bain on the field all at the same time. Now that I can really see. He is the guy I would feel least likely about piling up the sacks because the length is going to be a question. And I think savvier tackles won't be broken by the hand usage and the violence with the hands in the way that some of the college guys were. But there seems like there's almost a 0% chance. Very Leonard Williams in a way.
Yes.
Like, no chance he's a bad NFL player. He's going to do something for somebody. He fits. If the Jets run a similar scheme to last year, they're probably going to start him over Will McDonald, and then him and Jermaine will be the starters. But imagine him over Jermaine Johnson and just immediately what that would do to a defense. Because you're getting more pressure, you're forcing more turnovers, there's more errant throws. I think he comes in right away and he's an immediate starter and immediate playmaker. I just don't know if he's going to get 10 sacks every year. He reminds me a lot of Chase Young when he came out of Ohio State.
Okay. I mean, look, he was a top prospect, Chase Young.
Where anyone defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Nobody thought Chase Young was going to get 20 sacks a year, like Myles Garrett right before him, but so safe. Now, he got hurt a bunch, and you can't blame that. But, I mean, when he was in his prime with Washington, I mean, he was as good as it got for a young two-way edge for a while.
I mean, you could throw out the Jadeveon Clowney comparisons, too. Like I mean,
Clowney was just...
Clowney's a freakier athlete.
Yeah, the athletic...
He was a freakier athlete than Bain, but I feel like as far as a high floor goes, where you're like, oh, at a minimum, this guy's going to be a very good pass rusher and a great run defender, that's kind of how I feel about Bain. But you're right about the athleticism, and there's the athletic profile. There's a reason Clowney was not only the first overall pick, but like seen as a generational prospect at the time. Even if he fell
MTO on the arm length. Arm length is what got J.C. Latham drafted over Olu Fashanu.
I mean,
and why there was Will Campbell doubts.
Yeah. Well, listen, I also think that some of the arm length stuff with Campbell is valid, and I think that is going to prevent him from having a ceiling like Armand Membo in the NFL. And while he was solid as a rookie, I think there's still issues with the arm length. I also think there's a little issues with more powerful edge rushers. Like I feel like I didn't watch every Will Campbell snap this year, but when I did see him get beat, it felt like he was getting pushed backwards and kind of getting physically dominated and overpowered. And I think some of that
Myles Garrett beat him a lot. Is that his fault? Myles Garrett?
Well, no, I'm not specifically Myles Garrett. I mean, Myles Garrett's beaten everyone, but
Neil Hunter. I don't know.
When I did see him getting beat, it felt like it was more because of the arm length and the lack of physical traits that a guy like Armand Membu has. So I do think those were valid concerns with Campbell. While he was good, I honestly still think he'd be a better guard in the NFL. Like I think he'd be a Pro Bowl guard. I think he's going to be a serviceable tackle. That would be my Will Campbell take right now. But yeah, Bain, we talked about it. It's the high floor pick. Like we mentioned the Leonard Williams comparisons. It feels very apt to say that. Where I think there's no world where Rueben Bain is not a really good NFL player and a borderline Pro Bowler. Honestly, there's a good chance that he wins Rookie of the Year. Maybe he won't have the sack numbers for it, but as far as being the most impactful rookie, like he's so clearly NFL ready and a guy that I think if you draft him, and this goes for Bain or Reese, they're playing 85% of snaps minimum. And that's something, we haven't really seen from a Jets defensive lineman in a while, partially because they had the Robert Saleh years where they were so heavy on rotations. If you are drafting Rueben Bain, he should be playing at minimum 75% of snaps. Like that, there's no reason why he can't do that. He did that at Miami. I mean, there were multiple games this year, 4 or 5 games where he played 70 plus defensive snaps as a defensive lineman. Like there are not many guys in the NFL doing that. The Max Crosbys, the TJ Watts, right, that are doing that. And because of that, that raises his value even more for me, where I know this is a guy you do not have to take off the field. He can play 3 downs for you and be an effective early down run stuffer, and also be a guy that has the juice. Again, juice. I'm saying that word a lot now because it's in my head. A guy who can also be a very good pass rusher, even in passing situations. So that would be the selling point with him. I think the ceiling isn't as high as someone like Reese, where if you find Arvell Reese's niche and he can be an every down edge rusher for you, he could be an all-pro. I don't know if Bain is going to be that because, the lack of length, I think, will hurt him a little bit in the NFL. But, man, he's just going to be so good that if you took him at 2, if the Jets take Rueben at 2, I'm not complaining at all. I know they got a really good player. And when you're picking that high, that's what you want to come away with.
Franklin Hodge, what about Downs? I don't think they go safety at 2.
It's just
he might be the best player in the draft, but I don't think they go safety.
It's so tough. We had a brief Downs conversation not that long ago. It's very tough to justify the Jets drafting a safety at number 2, given all of the needs that they have.
Austrian Jet fan, though, gifting 10 memberships. That's
what a guy. Easy. Thank you so much, Austrian Jet fan. You're the man. Again, funding that trip to Innsbruck or Vienna, as we say every single time. That's become the running gag. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to justify Caleb Downs at number 2. He's an awesome player. Again, probably the best player in this class. I think we'd both agree with that. It's just the impact that a guy like Caleb Downs would make. Is that going to be more than the impact that Rueben Bain makes, or that Arvell Reese makes? I don't know. I would say probably not.
Does the lack of sacks concern you? In his first 10 games of the year, he had 3 sacks. One of them came against Bethune-Cookman. So he had 2 sacks. Basically, he had half against Notre Dame, a half against Florida, and then 1 against Syracuse, which was his only tackle of that game.
Yeah.
Does that not concern you?
No, because he finished with, so I'm looking at just PFF's data here, but 12 sacks on the year. 3 PFF credit him with 3 sacks against Texas A&M, 2 against Pitt. He had a sack in the championship game against Indiana. He had a sack against Ohio State. Not to mention 8 pressures against Ohio State, 8 pressures against Texas A&M. I think the sack rate.
Austin Sierreveld for most of that too, I think.
Say again?
Was he going up against Austin Sierreveld for most of that too?
Probably, because Bain lines up at Sierreveld's these are left tackle or right tackle?
I'm blanking.
Should know that. Because Bain lines up at left end. So he'd be going against their right tackle, which I believe is not Sierreveld. I think Sierreveld.
He's more on the left side.
Yeah, Sierreveld's their left tackle. So whoever their right tackle was, that's who Bain was going up against. But I would say no. There's also other guys in that Miami defensive line who eat. Akeem Mesidor, of course, is the big one.
Ahmad Moten's probably going to get picked too. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lower sack rate. Again, I mentioned it before. It was 2.1% sack rate, which is lower than you'd like it to be, but it's not disqualifyingly low. There was a good article here from Jets X Factor that kind of compared him to other guys. Myles Garrett coming out of college at a 2.8% sack rate. Brian Burns only a 1.9% sack rate. So that's not necessarily.
That was the concern with Garrett too. I remember coming out. You're going to take this guy. I think he had 3 sacks against UTSA.
Right.
And now you're going to take this guy one, and then he's Myles Garrett.
And which
Myles Garrett's also a one-of-one athlete who's
of course
built like a brick shithouse, who's insanely strong. So,
but it's funny because that was also a narrative for Garrett at points in his NFL career, where it's oh, you're saying Garrett's better than TJ Watt? Look at the sack numbers. Then you look at this year, Myles Garrett breaks a single season sack record. Sometimes
in fewer games, that's still going.
Positive regression happens. Rueben Bain this year had 83 pressures. Now he played a lot of snaps. He played 897 snaps. Which is an absurd number of snaps for any edge rusher. That is ridiculous. So part of it was that, but again, the pressure rate was still really, really good. What did I say it was before? 17.2. That's a very good pressure rate. That's the same as Zion Young, 0.5% lower than Romello Height. It's right up there. It's not quite what David Bailey's is, but again, Bailey, you're getting just a one-of-one pass rusher and the best overall pass rusher in this class. I don't think the sack rate is low enough for it to be concerning for me. Again, I don't think he's going to be a guy that gets 10 sacks every single year, but that's not why you're necessarily drafting him at 2. You're drafting him to be a guy that is a 3-down defensive difference maker, both in the running game and the passing game.
So I think free agency is going to tell us a lot too, because right now, again, they have the 2 most stylistically different defensive ends in the league in Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. Mm-hmm. One plays the run, can't get home if you paid him. One actually does have some pass rush moves. He's just behind all the time, so he can never show it off. Can't stop the run if you pay him. So I wonder if I imagine they're going to bring in one edge rusher this offseason.
Yes.
They got money to spend. if they bring in like kind of an Arnold Ebiketie, Boye Mafe speed off the edge guy, I think they may go Bain. And then you have 2 of each. I think if they go for kind of an Adafe Owe traditional edge setter, I think they may go Reese or Bailey.
Yeah, that's valid. And again, I also think there's a scenario where one of Johnson or McDonald are traded. I don't think that both of them are guaranteed to be on the roster, especially if they do sign, Adafe Owe in free agency. Maybe Jermaine Johnson becomes more expendable, right? Maybe they're like, okay,
hey, Titans, you want him? You want to?
Dude,
that third round pick looks pretty good.
Honestly, Tennessee they need edge help. They absolutely need edge help. You think Robert Saleh wouldn't love to reunite with?
I'm going to bet like $10,000 that Quincy Williams is going to sign with the Titans, right?
Either that or Dallas. I still think Dallas can make sense because Quinnen's there and Aaron Whitecotton's there, and like I can see that. Atlanta
Will he
also
be there though when they hire the DC? Won't they get rid of him?
Who? Whitecotton? I mean, maybe they love him enough. I don't know. He seemed to do a good job with them last year.
Sharon McLean, draft JJ from Tennessee, Joshua Josephs. He could be an intriguing second round.
Day 2. That'd be a day 2 pick. Yeah.
He is. You talk about what that is all production.
Yeah.
He is insanely fast. He's like almost a wide receiver fast as an edge.
Yeah. Once again,
very, very, very small. Never.
I was about to say again small.
That's Will McDonald.
He is 6'3", 240. That's what he's listed at. We'll see what even measured in at the combine. It could be even smaller. By the way, what do you think of Rueben Bain participating in a Senior Bowl? You saw that?
I like that because he has no reason to participate in the Senior
Nothing.
Bowl.
I think I literally texted you the other day, and I was like, he has nothing. He shouldn't do any testing at the combine. Just measure his arms, do the physical measurements.
If his arms are 32 inches, which is not that long, as my V gets a little choppy for some reason, if he's 32 inches, I might lock it in because I can deal with shorter than average. Something mentally about nobody with this length has ever been good. Something about that freaks me out a little bit, especially with a number 2 overall pick. If he's even below average, like Aiden Hutchinson level, and he does all this, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to look at that Miami game and that Texas A&M game. That was the best thing for his stock was of how well he played in the playoffs. Imagine if Notre Dame got in and Miami didn't, and then he didn't have 5 extra sacks on him in those playoffs. Is he in play it too? I don't know.
I
do
think
games, he may have had, you rank like his top 5 games, probably 3 or 4 of them are the playoff games.
Yeah.
He just completely dominated in them.
Yes. 100. We talked about him like I think a month ago, and we're saying, you know what? The pass rush production's fallen off a little bit with Bain. Like I feel there was a point early in the season where we're like, this is the best player in the class. This guy's obviously can't miss, number 1 overall pick. He's awesome, like unless he's a quarterback, but it was like Rueben Bain is the best player in the class. Then that conversation kind of died down a little bit. I feel like the narrative with him has shifted a lot. And then the playoffs came around and he utterly dominated again. And we're like, okay, that's right. He is this awesome player.
He did go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games where he had half a sack.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
He kind of had this weird, like he was great to begin the year. He had this like mid-season lull, oddly enough, against like teams that aren't that great.
But I'll say
Louisville, SMU, and then he picked it up again.
I think that's a little misleading though. Again, we're just looking at PFF stuff here. PFF had him in that Stanford game with 7 pressures and a 91.8 pass rush grade. So it's like,
and they won 42-7 anyways. So.
Yeah, sack production isn't necessarily the only way to evaluate, pass rush production. In Syracuse, 7 pressures, 80.7 pass rush grade. So it's not like he was just completely non-existent in those games. Florida State, 0 sacks. Mike, he had 10 pressures in that game. 10 pressures. Not to be the
I guess it's just like it's not. I would love Bain at 2. Love Bain at 2. I don't want to necessarily draft a guy. If he got crazy hot for a month, and it'd be one thing if the Jets were like, we are all in on Rueben Bain, and the playoffs reaffirm that we are all in on Rueben Bain, and that's our guy. But like if they weren't considering him, and then he had this month where he got crazy hot, and it's now we got to take him. We were going to take Arvell Reese, but then that happened. That might be a little bit more concerning for me.
I do think. If I want to point a red flag out here with Rueben Bain, and I want to watch his tape back again to see how, because I'm looking at the numbers right now. I really want to see
if you just get out of your mind that he has arm length, you're like, I am watching. This guy's like a knife ball. It's impossible to get your hands on him. He's fast. It's like everything you'd want in a defensive end.
Well, I'm gonna point out one thing that could be a red flag related to the arm length. He did have an 18.6% missed tackle rate, and I wonder how many of those were missed sacks because he just couldn't
He had one in against Mendoza.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that was, not to say T-Rex arms, but how much of that is, because the longer your wingspan is, the longer your arms are, the easier it is going to be to get a hold of the quarterback and drag them down. So I do wonder how much of that is an issue, because while I can sit here and tout the pressure numbers all I want, and while that is really important, and you don't want to just, scout based on sack numbers, there is an art to getting a sack, right? That is a skill in and of itself, and it shouldn't just be discounted. And we shouldn't just assume that the sack numbers are going to be a lot higher in the NFL, like positive regression, whatever. I think there could be an argument that, okay, maybe the arm length is also hurting him, not just necessarily as a pass rusher, but as far as fully sacking the quarterback. That could be. I want to watch back some of his a lot of his missed tackles and see how many of them were arm length related and how much of them were just like technique or over pursuit or whatever.
There was a tweet that I liked about Bain that was pretty funny. It said, Rueben Bain has T-Rex arms, but he's also literally a T-Rex. So
yeah. And I brought up the Senior Bowl thing too, because I don't think that's going to be nothing. I think that's going to be something where NFL coaches, especially you could look at an Aaron Glenn, who I think he cares about that stuff a lot. I think he'll look at that and say, you know what, Rueben Bain didn't have to go to the Senior Bowl. He has no reason. This isn't going to help his stock going, because he's going to dominate the Senior Bowl. Like he just
wanted to do it just because.
Right. He wanted to do that because he's a competitor.
One rep bowl over some poor 7th round tackle and then leave.
Realistically, it only could hurt him, because I think he's going to dominate the Senior Bowl, and I don't think that's going to affect his stock necessarily, because I think we already know how great he is and he should dominate the Senior Bowl. It could only hurt him if he either underperforms or he gets hurt. I don't think there's any benefit for him performing in the Super Bowl. So the fact that in the Senior Bowl, so the fact that he's willing to do that, man, he's a competitor. And maybe that's what the Jets need on his defense. Maybe they need more dogs like Bain. Not to say that Reese is not a competitor. I'm starting to talk myself into Bain here. I'm going to stand on the Arvell Reese train for now. The Reese, whatever. I don't want to say the Reese Grease. I don't like that.
Nah, that's nah.
You said you made a Reese pun. What was the Reese pun you made of me before? Recency bias?
Somebody said Reese's Puffs. I don't know if that.
The Reese's Puff? That doesn't really work.
I don't.
I'm going to stay in the Arvell Reese camp for now, but depending on who Jets hires their DC, and depending on, my mind changing and watching some more stuff and seeing what happens over the next couple of months, maybe by the end of by the time we get to March, I'm fully aboard the Bain train. It's possible.
And with that, we're going to call time on this episode of the Jet Press Podcast on location from
Bloomington.
Hotel in Bloomington, Indiana.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in. Justin, feel free to take us home.
Yeah, man. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, Mike?
Please don't screw this pickup, Jeff. Please don't.
I'm just happy.
Please at least be like, well, we're bad, but we have this guy. Please.
Yeah, as Brian said, Bain probably won't play in the Senior Bowl. He probably won't play, but he'll probably do practices, I would assume, right? I mean, maybe. I mean, honestly, that's what matters a lot more. The practices matter a lot more.
Went to the Shrine Bowl. That was just all same sort of thing.
Yeah, he's keeping it simple. Said he's going out to show out there and practice. Well, the practices are what matter more. Like there's some scouts that go to the Senior Bowl and leave before the game. Like that's not an uncommon thing.
Most scouts leave before the game.
There's a lot of scouts that do that. The practices are what matter most. It really doesn't matter what he does in the game.
The plays, you don't know, who you're playing with, timing wise. So the game is secondary.
Yeah. So him going just to participate in the practices, like if that is the case, that's what's most important anyway. So. But yeah, man, Mike, I'm just happy that for once the Jets are not the talk of dysfunction in the AFC East.
Give them some time.
I know they'll get back there. But I feel decent. I think we didn't get to talk about it, but the Dolphins hired Jeff Hafley. I don't want to speak too soon on it, but feels a little bit like a downgrade. Mike McDaniel would even when Robert Saleh was here, he would wreck those defenses. So kind of happy he's out of the division. Bills are a hot mess right now. Maybe it's just for today, and obviously they still have Josh Allen.
Walk into the easiest Super Bowl path ever, but
Yeah. Listen, what if the Patriots lose this weekend? Then we can clown the Patriots too, and it's great.
Like that's happening.
I do have around like $800 potentially riding on the Patriots winning the Super Bowl because I'm in like a bracket. I'm in like a whole tournament thing, and I picked the Patriots to win the Super Bowl because I'm a traitor to my fan base and I could win money. So part of me wants them to win, but we'll see what happens. But anyway. Thank you all for joining us on the show today. Go follow Mike on Twitter at BuyMikeandChomp. Follow me on Twitter, Justin Fried. Follow the Jet Press and the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. You could also become a member today. Thank you again to MF Chu and Austrian Jet Fan who donated memberships. You guys are amazing. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, even when I'm not at home on Long Island and I'm sitting here in Bloomington, Indiana.
You just love giving out your address, don't you? Your current location.
On Long Island. I said Long Island. People know I live on Long Island. That's not, is that news? Find me on Long
You
Island.
did it twice in the same.
You could Google both of our names, Mike, and probably find our addresses.
Google me.
That's just how, yeah, as Kurt Signetti would say, Google me. Anyway, thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
See you folks next time.